Okay, so today we're going to be talking about angles, specifically some relationships in your angles that you're going to see that we can use to solve for missing pieces, basically. There's three main relationships that we're going to talk about today that you can use to find pretty much every angle. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is what we call complementary angles, and that would be something like this. So right now this is opposite a 90-degree angle, which means this also has to be 90 degrees between these two angles. Okay, if we have two angles that add up to 90 degrees, we call that complementary. Okay, so if I know this is 53, and I know 53 plus angle 1 is equal to 90 degrees, it's not that hard to solve for angle 1, right? You would just minus the 53 from 90, okay? And 90 minus 53 would be 37, right? I'm double checking because my brain is not working. Yeah, 37, okay? So I can figure out that angle 1 is 37 degrees because this is 53 and these two together have to equal 90, right? So 37 plus 53 is 90 degrees, okay? The next relationship we're going to talk about, and this is why I knew this had to add up to 90 degrees, is what we call supplementary angles. And that's if we have two, like something that forms a straight line between those two angles. We know that those angles, if I draw the angle sign there, right, I get a half circle. A circle has 360 degrees, right? But a half circle would be half that. So that would be 180 degrees. We call this supplementary. If we have two angles that form a straight line, we know they're supplementary, which means they have to add up to 180, right? So if I take 55 away from 180 degrees, I should get the measure of angle 1. So angle 1 is going to be 125 degrees. Okay? Because again, this is what we call supplementary if they form a straight line. See how these two angles, these two sides when they're back to back, form a straight line? That is supplementary. It adds up to 180 degrees. Okay? And then the last one that we need to talk about is what we call vertical angles. That is when we have like an intersection like this, and the angles that are opposite each other are what we call vertical angles. Okay? So I'm going to prove what this is by using the supplementary. Like this is supplementary, right? So if this is 60, that means this has to be 120 degrees. Well, if this is 120 degrees, that means this has to be 60 degrees, right? And you'll notice those opposite angles, those that are opposite each other, are the exact same. These two angles are what we call vertical angles, and they're just equal to each other. Okay? Just like this would equal 120 degrees as well, because those are also vertical angles. They're opposite each other. If they're opposite each other in an intersection, they're going to be equal because they are vertical angles. Okay? So that is basically, is there anything else I want to go over? That's basically the idea here. I mean, we're going to see a couple more. Let's get rid of all these papers. Like if I use this, these are another intersection, right? I know 150 has to be the same as 2, so 2 is 150 as well, because they are vertical angles. Okay? And then I can use the supplementary idea, right? Because these are supplementary. If this is 150, that means this has to be 30, because those two have to add up to 180 degrees. So measure angle 1 would be 30 degrees. And then angle 1 is vertical to 3, so it would have to be the same. They would also be 30 degrees. Okay? So that's using those properties. Okay, let's use this to figure some things out now. So on page 91 now, on this assignment, we're using all of our different properties that I went over, the complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles, to find any angle that is not given. Okay? So I have a few triangles here. There's triangles inside the triangle. I need to figure out, and I'm just going to label them A, B, C. Those are the three angles I don't know, that aren't given to me, right? So I need to figure out what those are. Well, first things first, I can figure out B pretty easily, right? Because it is in a triangle. And I know inside a triangle, they also all add up to 180 degrees, right? So if I do 180 minus these other two angles, so minus, whoops, I did plus, minus 133 and minus 33, I get 14. So B has to be 14 degrees, right? That would be 166 between those two. If that has to add up to 180, you'd have to only have 14 degrees left. Okay? That gives me that one, but I only have one angle on this triangle, so I can't figure out these other two with the triangle theorems, but I do see that these are supplementary, these two angles. So together, these two angles have to equal 180 because we got a straight line right here. So if I do 180 minus 133, that shows me that A has to be 47 degrees. If that's 47 degrees, then I have two angles here. I can use the triangle, inside triangle, 180 degrees, to figure out C. So 180 minus 114 minus 47, and I get 19 degrees for C. Okay? And that would be all you're doing. Let me zoom in here a little bit better so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay? That's all I did. Okay, so that was 14 degrees, that's 19 degrees, that was 47 degrees. Okay, let's try looking at another one. So let's look at this one right here, number 4. So on this one, I have a couple of outside angles, but I'm missing all these inside angles as well as this other outside angle over here. So let me just label them real quick. So A, B, C, and we'll call that one D. Okay? So I need to figure out all these missing angles. Well, I don't know any of the inside angles, so I can't use the triangle idea, but I do see that these two angles are supplementary, and these two angles are supplementary, and eventually I'll probably need to know that these two angles are supplementary. Okay? Which means these add up to 180, these add up to 180, and these add up to 180. I also know that A, B, C add up to 180. So that should be all the information I need to figure out what's left here. So if these add up to 180, 180 minus 44, so 180 minus 144 should be 36, right? So that would be 36 degrees for A. And then B, again, if these add up to 180, I know that 180 minus 56 should be B. 180 minus 56 is 124. So B is 124 degrees. Okay? That gives me these two angles. Now I don't have anything that can be these, but since it is inside the triangle, and I know the other two inside triangle angles, I know that all three of these add up to 180. So I can use those to figure out the last angle there. 180 minus 124 minus 36 gives me 20 degrees. Okay? That gives me that one. And then this last one, I would, again, these two add up to 180. So 180 minus 20 would be 160 degrees for that last one. Okay? So it's kind of like a puzzle. You solve one piece, and then you can use that piece to solve the next piece, and so on. You just look for what you can solve in the moment, and eventually you'll get to all the different angles. Okay? That's pretty much everything I want to go over. Well, I'm going to reward the people that actually watched the video. How about that? I'm going to do number 7 with you guys on the video, but I'm also going to put this on the quiz. Okay? This is going to be kind of a long one to do, so if you don't want to watch it, you can stop the video now. But let's go through and just kind of label what angles I want to find. So A, B, C, and we'll call this D, E, F, G, H, I, and Actually, let's throw this one in here too. J. That one is a tricky. This one is tricky, tricky, tricky. Okay? Now let me zoom in here a little bit. I zoomed too far out. Okay. So, to start off, oh, I missed one. J, K. One right there. Okay. So, start off with, let's figure out all our supplementary angles. That makes it pretty easy. So these are all the angles that add up to 180, right? Because they form a straight line. So those add up to 180, those add up to 180, those add up to 180. Okay? I do have a vertical angle here as well. I have two vertical angles. The reason why this is tricky is J is actually vertical to this angle, this 90-degree angle, and D combined. So there's two angles there that make it like all three of these angles would be supplementary, but just these two would be supplementary. So we'll come back to that last. We'll find J last. But let's figure out A. So 180 minus 135 would be 45. So A is 45 degrees. 180 minus 105 would be 75, so 75 degrees. Okay. 180 minus 119 would be 61 degrees. And that's all I can do with those 180s. Now, I know that this is a triangle, so 45 plus 75 is 120, and then you take 120 away from 180, and you get 60, so C is 60 degrees. And C has a vertical angle with E, so E is also 60 degrees, because vertical angles are equal to each other. Okay, that gives me, okay, I have enough information to find J. J actually isn't that tricky, now that I think about it, because J is supplementary with E. So J has to be 120 degrees. Okay? Which then means this has to be 120 degrees, but that's 90 degrees, so that means D has to be 30 degrees. Okay? And then if that's 30 degrees, and that is 119, that would be 149, right? Yep. And then you take that away from 180 for K, and my light just went out. Come on, turn on. There we go. Okay. Take 30 and so you add 119, that's 149. Take that away from 180, and you would get 31 degrees. Okay, so 61, yeah, that fits. Okay. Then, yeah, that should work. I know these are 60, so 121, which means this has to be 49 degrees. All right, 180 minus 121, oh, 59. Yeah, 59. That is a 5. Okay, almost done. Now, since I know that's 59, if I take 59 away from 180, I would get 121. And 121 plus 40 is 161, which means I has to be 19 degrees. And I have found all the angles now. Okay, so that one was a little tricky, not as tricky as I thought. I thought I was going to have to do more with J, but J and E, once you had E, this was supplementary and made it pretty easy. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, ask your teachers. We're here to help. We want to help. You just need to ask your questions so we can help you. And I will see you out there maybe, possibly someday.